Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome to the Life Hair Show. I'm your host, Jason Wojo. On the Life Hair Show, we help people make more, work less, and create lives and businesses they love. I am joined by my calipigious co-host, Peter Colott.
Of what?
Well, Peter, we're talking about copywriting today and how the words we use are very important in expressing our thoughts, opinions, and desires.
So that's probably what you will not say in a copy, because just like I reacted, probably a whole bunch of people like, what?
So
and they get confused.
Bonus points if anybody looks at Bonus points if anybody looks that up and find what the definition is. Put it in our private Facebook group, our Life in Our Facebook group, and I'll have to think of a cool little prize for the first person who does it.
I'm curious, like, I don't even know how to spell it.
Well, like, dude, that's
can
part
you
of that's
say
part
that
of,
word
no,
again?
It's part of the mystery, bro. It's part of the
pigeons. There's pigeons in there.
No. So we are talking about today about copywriting. We have Julie Novara on. Julie's a copywriter, and dude, copy is one of the most important things in your business because it expresses who you are, who you can help, what you do, the problems you solve, all these incredible things that are super important for your ideal customer to know.
So yeah, I love this conversation because I used to do that in my own business. And then, like you said, it's a very important thing in any kind. But here's the thing. I don't care what walk you're from, if you have a business, if you don't have a business, I would encourage you to listen to this episode because it gives so many golden nuggets as far as how to, in a way, without sounding too bad, how to get people to do what you want them to do, meaning sell your product, sell your service, or even like talking to your kids or whatever it might be. This is really important because when you start looking from that perspective, we use copy, we sell all the time, every day, all day. So this is a great conversation to really listen to.
Totally. All right, let's go right now. Here's our interview with Julie Novara. Julie, what's up? Welcome to the Life Hair Show.
Hey, it's so good to see y'all today. Thanks for having me.
Well, it's nice to see you again. Just saw you here recently in Raleigh. That was cool. So, I wanted to share your expertise with our audience because you are a copywriter. You are involved in arguably what I would say is one of the most important pieces of not just business, but actually, if you think about even life to some extent, because the way you talk, the message you express, the way you connect with people, all of it in a way, I guess, is kind of copy in a strange sense. Tell us how you got into this.
Right. Well, I actually came in kind of sideways. I was an English instructor, English for speakers of other languages instructor for about
Peter.
50.
Yes,
Peter.
That's right.
So I taught people like Peter.
Obviously, you weren't teaching me because it would be a lot better.
Otherwise, he wouldn't sound the way he does if he.
Yeah. So, but I did have a lot of great students through those years, and I taught everything from just the free community ESL classes to academic English for graduate students, and really learn to help come alongside students to help them communicate in English. And especially with academic English, there are, nuances of that if they want to be successful in a Western style university, then they need to know those things. And so I did that for about 15 years. I started writing for businesses just as a little side gig to kind of see how it went, if I liked it. And it turns out that the same kind of satisfaction I got from coming alongside students to help them communicate is similar to how I feel coming alongside business owners and others, helping them communicate and connect with their ideal clients. So it's a similar process, I guess, in my mind.
That's it. I never thought about it that way, but it's so true, right? It's all communication.
Right.
It's totally. And so what did you do when you started working for businesses? What kind of things did you write? What did you do? Was it website branding? Was it sales letters?
Yeah, initially it was just simple blog posts. That's probably one of the easiest ways to get into copywriting. Just writing for informational purposes, more content creation than copywriting, actually. Okay. And then as I started to grow and learn more about the business of writing, but also about different styles of writing, I took courses on copywriting and, how to connect with clients, how to write for businesses. And so I just slowly started to build up put more tools in my toolbox is what I like to say.
Got it.
And so now I do, I've branched out past that, way beyond that, to do website copywriting, case studies, white papers, all kinds of different copy for clients.
So that's fascinating because I remember one time several years ago, this is pre-Life in Air, I had hired a copywriter to do some writing for me for sales because I didn't have any experience with sales copy.
Right.
And what I read was like, I was like, this doesn't sound like me at all. Like, I was like, this is not my, like people, I do have.
That's probably a good thing.
It could have been, but I wonder, how do you do that in a way that sounds unique to the business owner? And cause I've heard that fear as well as of hiring a copywriter is like, hey, it's not me. They're going to know it's fake. I don't feel like genuine.
Can we clarify something? Because I think some of the audience, I mean, you kind of talked about communication, but before we jump into that, how you write for somebody, can you tell the audience when somebody is totally green, they're like, what is a copywriter? What does that mean? Yeah.
So copywriting is content or words that are meant to sell, right? So that can be on a website, that can be a landing page where people show up to your website, but you're trying to sell something on that website. You want them to take some action at the end of reading that page. And I do a lot of content creation as well, which is more informational. You still want people to take action. You want them to learn to trust you and build your authority and that kind of thing. But copywriting is more directly related to, I want to convert this person. I want to sell them something. Does that make sense?
Yep. Makes total sense to me because I used to do that too. So now
Peter
point,
didn't know what it meant. That's why he's asking. Julie, don't let him fool you.
I wrote copy that sold. So that's all that matters at the end of the day, I guess. Right. But right. So here's the thing. So to Vojo's point of view, right? The copywriter doesn't sound like him. So how you do that?
Right. And I think that's a tricky area because it is important if you're going to sell your products and services that your copy sounds authentic to you. And so how I do that is by extensive interaction with the business owner or marketing manager that I'm working with. And instead of using my words, I'm trying to get their words out of them. And so by asking a lot of questions, asking about their ideal clients, what are the pains that their clients have? What are those, how do they solve those pains? And really pulling that information from them so that when I produce the copy for them, it is in their words. And we can always tweak it if it doesn't feel as much like them, if it's a little too conversational or too casual, we can always tweak it to make it a little more that way. But, there are certain, copywriting is part art and part science too. So there are formulas that you use. It's not just people pulling words out of the air. There are formulas to follow. And so you want to make sure that you're following those formulas as well. So kind of plugging in the client's own ideas and own words into those formulas to help sell their services.
So I hope our listeners are grasping this because I think copywriting is one of the most important things you can do in a business, especially, at all levels, especially in the front end where people are learning about your business. They want to know how you can help them and they want to feel a connection to you, but also like even for existing customers, for referrals, like all of this comes down to your message, your communication. You mentioned some formulas and you also mentioned that struck a note with me as well, as like talking about problems and how you can solve them. Can you talk about let's talk about how does somebody start thinking of copy and what are some of the formulas that are out there and what are some ways that people can start looking on themselves? Of course, they can hire you, but like if they want to do this on your own, like what are some ways that people can become better copywriters and some of the things that they can do?
Well, I like to tell people to start with I call it right fit clients, their ideal clients, target clients, whatever word they want to use. But, it's really tempting when we're talking about our businesses. It's tempting to talk about us, to say, oh, I can help you do this. I can do this. I can do that. But really, when your potential clients are looking at your website, they're looking at your social media, whatever it is that you're putting out there, they want to know about them. How does it affect them? And so you really want your copy to center on your clients. And I like to say, imagine you're networking with your ideal clients. What would you say to them? How could you talk to them about what you can do for them? What are the pains that they have, the problems that they have that you solve for them? So that's where to start. Like in your mind, I say just sit down, imagine you're talking with an ideal client. You're asking them about the problems they have. You're presenting the solutions you have to them. But ultimately you're solving their pain. That's the focus. And there are many copywriting formulas out there, and they're not secret. If you just Google copywriting formulas, you'll come up with a lot of stuff. But a couple of the like right off the bat, maybe the first ones that I learned, one is PAS, problem, agitation, solution. So when you're writing copy, start with the problem. What is the problem that the client has? And then agitate that. So poke around a little bit. What is it? So here's a problem, but what pain does that really cause them? So for me, maybe I would say my client, one problem clients have is they just don't have time to write. Okay, so what problem does that cause them? Well, they don't get any marketing material out. So now they're not having as many sales as they could have. So the problem is I don't have time. The pain is my marketing is not happening. So I'm not building as much business as I could build if I could get my marketing done. So the pain is the bigger part of it. And then the S is the solution. So what is your solution that meets that, solves that pain?
Gotcha.
And yeah, you're the solution at the end of it. Yeah. I love what you're talking about here because of the fact that if we can get to that pain and agitate it, like, if you don't have time to write the marketing, well, guess what? You don't have time to market your product. So you're not making money. So guess what? Now you live in a van down by the river, right? Sort of speak. Right. And you're stressing out. You're not sleeping at night. You can't feed your kids, that kind of stuff. And when it gets real for that person, like, yeah, you know what? Yeah, do I want to struggle with that? Or you want to get somebody to actually help me with that?
Yep. And that's exactly how you agitate it. You go there. You just keep poking at it. Yeah.
And I was just going to say that, like, so Julie, I love what you said there and Peter, you also are on the right path. This is like, their time that's not enough to make somebody like take action. Okay, I don't have enough time. Big deal. Okay, well, what are the real consequences of that? And continually try to get as deep as you can, not in a like manipulative way, but helping them realize the true challenges that they're going to have if they don't address this. Like here's a very likely probability of what's going to happen if you don't fix this. Are you sure this is, are you sure you don't want to take any action here, or does it make more sense to let me help you? And so that's a really important thing. Now, one precedent factor here that we need to know before we solve this problem is to know what those problems are. And so how do you figure out what someone's real challenge is if like for a population, is it through talking with them? Is it just thinking through it on your own? Like, how do you really start to identify what those problems are so that you can make sure that, are you just guessing or how are you doing this?
Well, if it's a new business person, I think sometimes they're guessing, but when you're an established business person, asking people about what their problems are, talk to your current clients and find out, what is it that you've really done for them? Sometimes what we think we're doing for clients is not what we're actually doing for them. We're solving a different problem that we're solving their problems, but maybe it was a little bit different than we realized. And so if we do talk to our clients, talk to potential clients, ask them the questions, we'll get like real data, we'll have real information to use. and it'll be like, I like to talk to the people, especially who are our best fits. So the people that are really who we want to work with more people like them. So our ideal client, talk to them so that our messaging can reflect what we've done for them. So we attract more people like them. Does that make sense, or was that totally confusing?
No, it totally does. And so tell me a little bit more about, how do you actually even choose an ideal client? Is it someone who you like? Is it characteristics about them? Is it that they have a problem you can solve? Is it like that they're fun and or they can pay you? Like, that's probably a good one too. Like, how are you choosing an ideal client?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of all those things. And again, if you're a newer business person, maybe you don't know exactly, and it's a lot of trial and error. But as you've come along in business, once you're established, it's easier to understand who your ideal clients are. And I do an exercise with my clients to help them understand that by actually making a list of recent clients. It could be like a list of 10 clients. And then to grade those clients, A, B, C, D. So A being you love to work with them, they pay you well, you like each other. It's just the whole 9 yards, right? And then B is a little less than that. They're not bad clients, but they're just not your top of the line A. Then C would be where it starts to kind of go downhill a little bit. Maybe they're not paying on time, or the work has changed. You're not as satisfied, or maybe they're not as satisfied with your work. And then D would be the clients that you really don't want to ever work with again because they don't pay, they're not happy. And when you do that and you look at, okay, how many A clients do I have? What is it about those clients that are similar? So maybe it's a certain location that they're in. Maybe it's a certain size business. Maybe they've been in business for a certain number of years. What is it about them? Or they're in a certain industry. What is it about them that is similar across the board? Then you're starting to get a picture of who your ideal client is. And when it matches your skills, right, then it's a perfect fit.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
That's an important thing, I think. Now, because if you're a service business, it has to match what you're providing to them, right?
Right.
Because otherwise you're kind of wishy-washy about what that ideal client is. Now, if you're a product type of a business, you got to make sure that ideal client actually matches that product that you're selling.
Right.
And I think, and I love that. And you're being actually nice, because I would have on that scale, I would actually add an F, the ones who are fire. Like, I don't want to deal with, and I would actually add it to the copy somewhere in there. I don't know if you do that or not, but I love that grading, because that gets clarity for the person that actually helps you uncover a lot of the things about the ideal client, right?
It does. It shows you a lot about who you're really connecting with, and it helps you guide you in the future. Yeah.
So 2 questions. One, do you have some sort of assessment that can rate your podcast guest, your podcast co-host, and whether your co-host is the right person?
Let's see. I think an A would be no.
A. Oh man, what'd you pay her, Peter?
See, I told you she's nice.
And second question is, how do you? So talking about ideal client now, and so this ties into copywriting as well. You're a new business owner. You're kind of getting your feet wet. You need to make money. It can be super scary, I think, to only pursue who your ideal client is. Not maybe number one, either you don't know yet because you're just getting started, or number two, you're like, I need to make money. I need to take whoever I can because they're going to pay me, and maybe they're not a great fit, but it's going to put food on my table. Like, how does somebody like that? This takes a leap of faith, and it's kind of scary. And I'm wondering, like, what's your experience been with that? And like, what have people done that you've like seen them, or am I making this up? Like, is this it seems like a challenge, like almost every business I've known has been tempted to go outside of that pool when things get lean.
Right. And I think I would say even at the beginning, I did a lot of different work that I wouldn't take now.
Okay. So you're experimenting.
I was experimenting. Yeah. What is it that I really like to do? What kind of writing do I really like best? Which clients are the best for me? And as far as my, how I kind of narrowed down, I looked at all of my own experience. So I'm a service-based business, right? So I look at all of my experience. And in life and kind of go, okay, what is it that I know a lot about? And so that's where I started. So I have a lot of education, actually a couple of master's degrees. So I started marketing toward higher ed in that field. That led me to, I got a contract with NC State University, which was very cool. But I was working for their College of Natural Resources and doing interviewing their profs about research that they were doing and then writing pieces about that. That led me to pursuing more clients in the environmental space. So it's sort of my focus found me once I started pursuing a focus that I thought I would be in. And I still do write for some higher ed. I still do sustainability writing, but my marketing overall now is working with people who are making a difference. So people who are looking to make an impact. So I think when you're first starting out, sometimes you do have to experiment a little bit, but the faster you can narrow down, the faster your business will grow. And it sounds counterintuitive to say, no, get really, really narrow, but the narrower you are, the more you write to your one client that you really want, the more it just works. Yeah,
because you're in their head almost. When they're reading that copy, when the ideal client, when they're reading the copy, you're like, is he sitting next to me? She's sitting next to me here. Like they know what's going on in my life, right?
That's right. And people think, oh, if I'm just writing to that one client, then other people won't hire me. But it's not true. Because you're in other people's head too. But you're focused on the one, and that's what makes it effective.
Well, and I love what you said too, is like some of this is the experimentation, the trial and error, the learning what you like, because how often in life do we think we're going to like something and then we actually do it? It's different than what we thought. And so, this is where
co-host.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah, Peter, you're I'll say
you want to bring this out? Look, dude, you want to play this game? Let's go.
Okay, we'll play this game. We'll play after Julie's off the line. She's too nice for this. So what I also think though is like, Peter, you threw me off my conversation now. And I was thinking
talking about experimenting.
No, but So as things turn out to be different, a lot of people I think get analysis paralysis, where they're like, before they even start a business, or I need to know exactly what I'm going to do and exactly what, and that doesn't always work because you don't know. This is the same thing we talked about, like with life intervision stuff. Like people are like, hey, I want to have the perfect vision before I even do anything. That doesn't work that way. You got to start the process. You got to take, you said it as well. Like you got to do something, and your focus finds you. And so it's kind of that process of action combined with reflection and thoughtful, like kind of like analysis, like leads you into the niche that you're in. Yeah. And so, I'm curious, because you have such a background with your degrees and everything like that in education, how did you overcome? And it seems like this is something I struggled with, is especially sales copy when you're connecting with people. And I've heard, everyone's heard the phrase, you connect emotionally, and then people will buy with emotion. They'll justify with logic. When I first started writing, I was using big words, 3-4 syllable words, and I was trying to sound smart, and that didn't do real well. Like people maybe had to look up a word and see what it meant, but that didn't help me. So talk to people about the style of writing that is most likely to connect with your audience, and some things to look out for.
Well, if you're writing your own copy, you want it to be naturally you. So, and I say this, you have to be careful about breaking all the grammar rules. If you don't really know what you need to know the rules to know what you can break, but even breaking some grammar rules to make it sound natural to you is important. I totally lost. Where was I going with that?
Well, so how you write the copy, because I've heard, for instance, to Voja, what he's saying is like, you write like you're writing to an 8-year-old, right? So they can understand like that, what they teach you in grammar school, in English school, how to speak properly in English. Most of the time when it comes to writing copy, it doesn't work very well. So give us a take on that.
Right. So I also have that academic background where everything is kind of a little bit more formal, and you would never start a sentence with and those kind of things. And really in copy, those are the kind of rules that you do break, because you want them to be natural. You want it to sound natural and to flow naturally. And so, so really conversational tone is what we use in copy all the time. And like Peter just said, when you're explaining what you do, when you're explaining your services, you just want it to be like a conversation, and not something where people have to pull out the dictionary and look it up. Yeah.
Yeah. Because that's taking their mind off, that you're pulling them out of that emotional experience, and then you're engaging the intellectual side of their brain.
Right.
And so that is not going to serve your purpose, I mean, I had to write some academic papers when I had some publications for grad school, and it was very, very different than actually effective sales copy.
Yes.
Talk about some of the places you feel copy is most important. Where do people need to focus on, and how can they look at their messaging and start to pick where they want to go first?
Well, a couple of places, obviously, a website, right? Making sure that you have, and it can be just, especially if you're just starting out, it can be a very simple website, with a home page, about page, some services page, and a contact page maybe. But just making sure, again, that the copy on those pages really focuses on the client, and not just telling your own story about who you are and what you do. Another thing I learned just this week in talking to my own clients is that she mentioned how I've done quite a bit of, she called it foundational materials. I'm not sure what to call it, but just some basic informational materials about her business. She's a financial services company, and we did like a one-pager cheat sheet for her, introducing the team, telling about the mission and the values of the company, some initial onboarding materials and those kind of things. And it's turned out that those pieces have also been extremely important for her. So what I thought of as a simple fact sheet and a simple cheat sheet about a company turns out to be one of her best selling pieces, because when someone signs up for a discovery call with her, they automatically receive this sheet. So when she jumps on the phone, they're already sold on her company, and she just has to talk about the pain they're experiencing and how she can solve it. And so she said to me, and this was new to me, she said, newer businesses need to understand that they need those materials from the beginning. She said, I've started developing those materials after I've been in business, and I really should have had them at the very beginning. So it's really at every touch point where you're interacting with potential clients that copy is really important.
Got it. I think people think that copy is only the written word, but as you're talking, I'm realizing this also could affect how we have conversations with people. So if you hone your copywriting skills, those same sentences, those same phrases, those same, expressive thoughts that you put on paper can also come out of your mouth. And so in effect, like you're also in a way crafting your sales presentation and the way you're going to talk with people. And you can gain a lot from that interdynamic between the verbal and the written.
That's absolutely right. And another, because I've been talking to my clients this week, it brings up another conversation with one who I did a website copy for, and she's newer in business. And one of the main things that she said was helpful in our process of me talking to her about what she does and all of that was for her to understand how to talk about what she does. So our conversation helped her think about what she does in a way she hadn't thought about it before, really reflecting on who her clients really are and what problems she's really solving for them. So that was also new for me to think about it in that way.
Yeah, totally. I mean, even from that first exposure, like someone asks you what you do, the way you say that could have a huge impact on the rest of that conversation.
Yep, absolutely. And
So go ahead.
go ahead. Nope, go ahead.
I was going to say, so give us, is there anything else? I mean, this is something that I'm sure takes a lot of work to master, to learn, to practice. Like, are there any other tips, suggestions that you can give people if they want to give this a shot for themselves?
Well, the main thing is what we've already talked about, is really thinking about the client instead of yourself. Really thinking about their problems, their pain, and the solution that you provide for them.
Okay.
If you start there, I feel like you're on the right track. And the more that you talk to your own clients, the more you learn about the clients that you're serving, the more you learn about the ones that are the best fit for you, the more you can hone your messaging to get better and better at reaching those folks that are ideal.
Got it.
It's really, you're not trying to manipulate people into buying something that they don't need. You're trying to find the people that really fit with you, who you are. And so that's why it's so important to be authentic in the copy, and for it to sound authentic to who you are, because the goal is, again, not to manipulate, but just there are plenty of people out there for each of our businesses. And so we're trying to find those people that really need what we have to offer and that would work well with us as much as we want to work well with them.
Got it.
So I have a few questions for you about copywriting, because I've done this for many years before, and I find that a lot of clients are looking at it that way. So I want you to give your take on this. So for question number one, so let's say I go and write this copy and I got my first finished piece, put it on the website, boom, boom, done. Okay, this is going to work, right? Yeah. This is it. Talk to us about how that experience has been while putting a first copy and how important testing is to be able to actually, does it work like the first time out? Sometimes I think it does, sometimes it doesn't, but tell us about the testing, how important that is when it comes to copy.
It's true, right? So the first round may or may not work. So it is important to analyze it, to look at your analytics on the back end. How many people are coming to that page? How many people are staying on that page? And how much that page is converting for you. So it may be that, I heard someone say one time that they had the same piece of copy. I don't remember if it was a Facebook ad or what it was, in two places. And the only thing they changed was an image. And the one did 10 times, 1,000 times better than the other. And so it is important, if something is not working for you, to try to change something about it. Go back to your headline even. Maybe the headline isn't speaking to the right folks. Maybe the images could be tweaked a little bit. And really it is trial and error with that too, until you find kind of what is speaking to the people that you're hoping to reach.
Right. So when it comes to testing, there's a science to the meaning, like you change one thing on a copy, right? Right. And then you test it out. So, because I find that sometimes people are like, you know what, this copy doesn't work. This copy stuff doesn't work, right? So I need to go move on to something else. I need to get more clients to my website, right? I need to get more visitors. Right. But that might not be the problem. The problem might be there is something in your copy that makes a difference. So when you were talking about the analytics, I think it's really important to look at it. Like, how long do they stay? Some of these newer analytics, they have like things where you can track at how far the person goes down the page. And if you notice the majority of people stop at a certain point, something might be up there, right? Then you start to tweak it. So I think that it's a really important thing. Now, I don't know if you can talk to us about what simple answer to what a successful copy is whether or not you get a client, right? Because if you get clients, that means it's a successful copy. Right. But do you aim for certain kind of a percentage of how people are interacting? Because, some people might be expecting, I think might be depending on the industry as well. Like, okay, I should be converting 50, 60% of the people who come to my website, right? Mm-hmm. How true is that? Like, how you look at that? particular thing?
Yeah, and I actually don't know the numbers in terms of everybody, an average of this is a good number. So I guess I would say, to be paying attention to it. Obviously, if there's no conversions, then there's some problems.
Mm-hmm.
But you're not going to convert 100% of the people either. But I don't know what the standard average is necessarily on, kind of what you should be aiming for in your industry.
Yeah, I think it depends on the industry and
it does.
Looking at the client, like how much do you actually, are you happy with what you're converting at, right? That kind of stuff. So that thing. And then last question I have for you, because I think people miss this a lot on the sales copy, is call to action.
Oh, yeah.
Talk to us a little bit about call to action and how it needs to be, like how clear it needs to be, like, because that's a super duper important thing, I think.
It is super duper important. And sometimes I think we forget it. We leave it off. But, it's really very simple. We need to tell the clients at the end of our copy, what is it we want them to do next? And that might be schedule a call. That might be buy our package. But it does need to be very clear, and it needs to be simple. And it shouldn't be, a choice of 10 different things. At the end of this page, I want you to do this, and tell them exactly what that is.
Good. Yeah. When I was writing copy, my kids were younger. So I had one of my kids go to the website and I would tell them, listen, see if you can follow the directions, what this thing says. And I would watch what he does. And if he starts getting confused about what is this, then maybe I'm writing in Polish, right?
Right.
But the other aspect of it is like, I'm not very clear of what he needs to do.
Right.
And I have to write it like, click here, this button right here, kind of a thing, to be able to go to the next page, because some people might, need that.
Right.
But listen, one last question. Has you seen anything difference with the new technology, with the mobile phones? Now, do you write more for mobile phones? Do you write for desktops, or does it matter? Or how do you look at that?
You know what? I haven't. It hasn't necessarily changed from my end in terms of writing the copy. There are certain kind of formats I use anyway. But as long as the website is mobile friendly, it tends to work. So I haven't seen it impact my work as much at this point anyway. Yeah,
but it needs to be mobile friendly.
Right.
That's important aspect. Yeah.
If the websites are not mobile friendly, then that definitely, it doesn't matter how you put what kind of words you use, it's not going to work, right?
Yeah, 1980 called. They want their website back.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and listen, I still seen websites to this day when you go on there and you're like, how are people click on this? Like, it's not mobile friendly, right? But if you think about it, your customer, some of your customer might be reading that copy while sitting in one of the room in your house, taking a break, if you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
They sit on that throne, sort of speak. So you have to be looking from that perspective.
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you for that image, Peter.
I know, right?
I said throne. That's it. I mean, there's a whole bunch of different thrones in the house, aren't they?
True. Our cat thinks the couch is a throne, but now I totally lost my train of thought again. But I was going to say, writing for the web also, you tend to we write in smaller chunks. So not, 10-line paragraphs and things like that. So I think that also translates better to being mobile friendly, but that's just how we write for the web anyway, whether or not you're looking at it on a desktop or where you're looking at it.
Totally. Well, so Julie, how do people find out more about what you do if they want to learn more and see what you're up to?
Yeah. So my website is johnsonwriter.com, and I'm also on LinkedIn, and they can always connect with me there as well. I do a lot of networking on LinkedIn.
Awesome. Well, hey, thanks for being on Life Eater Show.
Hey, thanks for having me. Great talking to you all today.
There's a couple of things I want to say right now for our listeners. One that might have sounded super obvious. or it was completely overwhelming and daunting and you don't know what to say. And to both of those people, I want to say that yes, copywriting is something that is incredibly important, but it's not something that has to be, complexixified. There's another word for it.
Exactly. Or colored pigeons, whatever you said at the beginning. Yeah. Yeah. I mean, listen, that is a really important aspect too, because a lot of times people want to look impressive, like especially businesses. If you think about like, I'm big time business, right? I'm impressive. So they tend to write about themselves. Yeah. They tend to write in a big, very impressive language. However, that's not what it works from the experience of hundreds of thousands of copywriters that wrote the copy out there. So big takeaways from the show is I want you to get is one, you write for the client. You don't write about yourself. You might put it in there, but if you think about it, most businesses, how many times have we gone to a website, what's a company website, and it says at the top, right at the top of the website, it says, welcome to so-and-so. As a visitor, do I really care? Or do I
the area is best, blah, 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 or we, blah, 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 or I, da, da, da.
And the visitor says, well, how is that going to help me?
Right.
Think about it. That idea, that phrase that we've heard before of what's in it for me is so important in here. So when Julia was talking about getting to know that client, your ideal client, and writing with them in mind, it makes such a huge difference.
Well, and I love what you said at the beginning, man. It's like, it's not speaking to impress, it's speaking to express. You're expressing yourself. You're not trying to use 3-4 syllable words and academic language. Yeah, if you're in an academic setting, maybe you have to do that. But the rest of the world doesn't function that way. The rest of the world functions on emotion and connection. People do business with people they feel who understand them and who they like. And so the way you convey that to people, again, and Julie was very clear in expressing this isn't manipulation. It's expression of how you can genuinely help somebody. And when you do that and somebody feels a connection with you and you're really, she also mentioned, really narrowly focused, that person has a very, very, very special bond with you that I think you're doing them a disservice if you're not going to help them based on what you can offer. And the way you do that is by first getting that connection, getting the appeal to them, having them feel like they know you and you know them. And that's the way to do this. I also want to clear up and make sure people are understand on, when the PAS formula, I love that, by the way, problem, agitate, solve. Mm-hmm. The A isn't, you're not doing this to be mean. You're not trying to take advantage of people. You are trying to really genuinely help them realize what the challenge is that they face. What are the consequences of those if they don't take any action? Like, cause on the surface, like, it's the same thing. Like, man, we talk about this like, hey, okay, so I'm a couple of pounds overweight. Well, who cares? Right. But when you start digging into the actual downstream consequences of that, it gets more serious and people are more likely to take action. So you're helping them when you do this.
Right. Because think about it. If they're on their website, if they're in your company, they're looking at your company, they're probably interested in what you have to offer. Right. And getting clear on that and being able to speak the way they're thinking, like you almost get in their head, is so much powerful because you actually are able to help them. And by the way, if you don't believe like you're the best person to help them, then something to think about when it comes to your own business, right? But it is so important to have that clarity, to be able to put that out there, having the right call to action. She mentioned some of those different aspects she talked about the headline, which is that big sentence at the top of the page that catches their attention, that gets them to stay on the page, right? Testing those different elements. It's so important as well, because a lot of times, people say, well, I'll get it done. It's done. Now I need to, that's it. But you have to test it when it comes to copy, when it comes to stuff on the website, you got to test it. And when you test it, you test one thing at a time to be able to see what works and what doesn't.
That's true, man. But I also don't want to get people overwhelmed with that and thinking that like this, because some people are overwhelmed just by thinking of writing copy and then to think like, oh, I have to update this constantly and test. And listen, yes, you should, but realistically, just get it done. Just start simple. Just start small. Don't worry about like all the micro testing stuff because that'll kill you.
Well, I'm not saying, because listen, if you get down to you can start testing little tiny things in there, right? I'm talking about You write your copy, get that done, and then just start testing simple things. Change the color, change the picture, like she mentioned on there. 2 different posts at 2 different pictures. Just change the picture. That's it. That's all you're testing.
Yep.
It's not a big deal. It can make a huge difference.
So if this is something you're not good at, either develop the skill or hire somebody else to do it, because it's going to cost you something in your business that you're not aware of yet, unless you've dug into this and what Julie said resonated with you. So listen, we hope you enjoyed this episode. We certainly enjoyed doing it. We are here to serve you. And Peter, I guess we probably need to make sure that the life in your copy is resonating with our ideal audience as well, man. And so if that's true, please like, share, and subscribe. Also, we have a private Facebook group. It's a secret. It's not really a secret. Okay. But I'm exaggerating a little bit. I was using some exaggerating copy there, Peter. It's not a secret Facebook group, but it's a private Facebook group that is growing rapidly. And there's an awesome community of people that want to help each other, and they're sharing visions, and they're like working on business together and life. It's fantastic.
And you can figure out what Vojo said at the beginning of the podcast, the word that he used. You can actually figure it out. There's some pigeons in that word. Post it in
a post,
Facebook page.
Say, I figured it out, and the word means this, and I'll think of a cool little surprise for you. All right, everybody.
Tag him.
Tag me in it, because I may not see it. All right, see you guys next week, everyone. Take care.